Welcome to this lesson on basic visual vocabulary. Just as any language, whether spoken or written, relies on fundamental building blocks, letters, words, and grammar, visual communication possesses its own core set of elements. These are the simplest, most universal components we use to construct visual messages, to express ideas, and to make sense of the world around us. Mastering this basic visual vocabulary is not about becoming an accomplished artist. It is about developing visual fluency, enabling you to communicate complex information with clarity, precision, and impact. As Wilhelmine Brand emphasizes in visual thinking, you don't need Van Gogh's artistic talent to harness the power of visual thinking. The effectiveness lies in the ability to simplify and convey meaning. Our visual vocabulary comprises elements that are universally understood, leveraging our innate ability to process shapes, lines, and simple representations. Think of it as learning your visual alphabet before you start writing visual sentences or paragraphs. Let's begin with the most fundamental building blocks, basic geometric shapes and lines. These elements, though simple, carry profound meanings and serve distinct functions in visual communication. Lines, the foundation of form and connection. The line is arguably the most fundamental element in our visual vocabulary. It is a single stroke, a continuous mark, yet its versatility is immense. Lines define boundaries, create paths, connect points, and convey a surprising range of information and emotion. The most common use of a line is to show a link or relationship between two or more elements. In a mind map, lines branch out from a central idea to sub-ideas, illustrating their connection. In an organizational chart, lines connect reporting managers to their teams. Even without an arrow, a line can imply direction, especially when combined with other elements or used in a sequence. A series of connected lines can depict a path or a journey. Lines create separation and define discrete areas. They can enclose spaces, forming the perimeters of shapes, or divide a larger space into distinct sections. Think of the lines that define columns and rows in a table. Lines form the backbone of many diagrams, providing structure to otherwise chaotic information. Flowcharts, timelines, and network diagrams all rely heavily on lines to organize and present sequential or relational data. Thicker or bolder lines can draw attention to specific elements or connections, highlighting their importance. Lines can subtly convey emotion or quality. A smooth, flowing line suggests calm, continuity, and grace. A jagged or broken line can imply tension, disruption, or instability. A dashed line might indicate something indirect, optional, or permeable. These are some types and applications. Straight lines imply order, precision, directness, and efficiency, used extensively in architectural plans, technical diagrams, and formal charts. Curved lines suggest softness, fluidity, organic forms, and sometimes a less direct path. They are often used in diagrams representing cyclical processes, natural systems, or gentle transitions. Dashed or dotted lines indicate something incomplete, implied, invisible, or a less direct connection. They are useful for showing potential paths, historical data, or conceptual boundaries rather than physical ones. Varying line weight can denote hierarchy, importance, or strength of connection. A thick line might represent a major pathway, while a thin line shows a minor connection. In the context of visual thinking, lines are the threads that weave our ideas together, providing coherence and clarity to our mental models. When Temple Grandin mentally walks through a cattle chute design, she is implicitly tracing lines of movement and sight, understanding the flow and boundaries that impact animal behavior. The circle is a universal symbol carrying rich associations across cultures. Visually, it is soft, complete, and without corners, making it inherently inclusive and harmonious. A circle has no beginning or end, making it a powerful symbol of completeness, unity, and eternity. It suggests everything within its boundary belongs together. The round table, the huddle, circles naturally foster a sense of togetherness and equal participation. Visually, they can represent a team, a community, or a shared purpose. The continuous nature of a circle makes it ideal for representing cyclical processes, feedback loops, or continuous improvement models. A circle can act as a protective barrier, enclosing and safeguarding what's within. It can also draw the eye inward, focusing attention on a central element, much like a bullseye. Lacking sharp edges, circles are often perceived as more inviting and less confrontational than angular shapes. A circle can group individuals or departments working towards a shared goal, critical for processes that repeat, such as product development cycles, learning cycles, or continuous feedback loops. Placing a key idea within a circle can give it prominence and signal its importance. Grouping related ideas or elements without implying a strict hierarchy or rigid structure. For instance, visualizing a project's iterative phases might involve a series of interconnected circles, each representing a cycle of planning, execution, and review. This immediately conveys the cyclical nature of the work. In contrast to the fluidity of the circle, squares and rectangles convey a sense of order, stability, and clearly defined boundaries. They are the workhorses of structured visual communication. With their straight lines and right angles, squares and rectangles feel grounded and stable. They are associated with foundations, frameworks, and organized systems. They evoke a sense of precision, rationality, and clear-cut definitions. They are often used when information needs to be presented in a logical, step-by-step manner. They are ideal for enclosing information, marking distinct ideas, or representing discrete units within a larger system. Their predictable form makes them efficient for tiling and arranging information, making them ubiquitous in interfaces, diagrams, and reports. In flowcharts, each step or decision point is often contained within a rectangle, clearly demarcating individual stages. Departments, roles, or teams in an organizational chart are typically represented by rectangles, emphasizing their distinct but interconnected nature. Rectangles are excellent for framing text boxes, images, or distinct conceptual units within a larger visual, creating visual hierarchy and separation. They act as fundamental building blocks for complex layouts, dashboards, and information architecture, providing a grid-like structure for organizing diverse content. When Todd Churches talks about crystallizing strategy in visual leadership, he implicitly relies on the structured nature of squares and rectangles to define key strategic pillars or objectives, often presented within clear, contained visual elements that make the strategy tangible and comprehensible. The triangle is a dynamic shape, its meaning often influenced by its orientation. It can signify stability, instability, direction, or even conflict. Pointing upwards, downwards, left, or right, triangles are inherently directional. An upward-pointing triangle can suggest growth, ascent, or ambition, while a downward-pointing one might imply decline or grounding. A triangle resting on its base is incredibly stable. Inverted, it suggests instability, tension, or a precarious balance. Pyramidal structures inherently convey hierarchy, with the apex representing leadership or a culminating point, and the base representing a broader foundation. Two opposing triangles can symbolize opposing forces or a state of tension. The sharp angles of a triangle can evoke a sense of urgency or dynamic action. While arrows are specialized, a simple triangle can serve as a potent directional cue, particularly in flow diagrams or maps. Think of an organizational pyramid. a Maslow's hierarchy of needs diagram, or a sales funnel, which is often a triangle or cone shape, illustrating competing forces, power dynamics, or the balance between different elements. A triangular shape can draw attention to a critical point in a process, whether it's a peak performance or a challenging constraint. By combining these basic shapes, lines, circles, squares, rectangles, and triangles, we can begin to build complex visual narratives. A square representing a department, connected by a line to a circle representing a collaborative project, which in turn leads to a triangle symbolizing growth, already conveys a rich story. While lines provide basic connections, arrows are specialized lines that add crucial layers of meaning, directionality, flow, and specific relationships. They transform static diagrams into dynamic representations of processes and interactions. An arrow definitively shows where something is coming from and where it is going. This is paramount in explaining sequences, steps, and paths. Arrows are indispensable for visualizing workflows, data flow diagrams, supply chains, and any process where elements move from one state or location to another. Beyond simple connection, arrows can imply a causal link, a dependency, or an influencing relationship. A impacts B is clearly shown by an arrow from A to B. They dictate the order in which steps occur, making complex procedures easy to follow. Curved or looping arrows are excellent for showing feedback mechanisms or iterative processes where an output feeds back into an earlier stage. Single-headed arrows, the most common type, indicating a unidirectional flow or dependency. Double-headed arrows signify a bidirectional relationship, interaction, or mutual influence. This can mean A and B interact, or A influences B and B influences A. Curved looping arrows, essential for representing cyclical processes, feedback loops, or nonlinear movements. A continuous curved arrow can denote iteration or a recurring event. Dashed or dotted arrows. These imply a weaker connection, an optional path, an indirect influence, or a conceptual rather than a direct physical flow. For instance, a dashed arrow might show potential influence or information consulted but not directly flowing. Varying line weight color. A thicker arrow can denote a stronger connection, a larger volume of flow, or a more critical path. Different colors can distinguish different types of flow, e.g., green for positive feedback, red for negative. Arrowhead styles. Different arrowhead styles can also convey subtle meanings, though consistency within a given diagram is key. A solid triangle is common, but open triangles or even specific shapes can be used. Importance in visual explanations. Arrows are particularly critical for turning abstract concepts of dynamic processes into concrete, easy-to-follow visual narratives. Without arrows, a flowchart is just a collection of boxes. With arrows, it becomes a story of action and transformation. They are the verbs of our visual language. In the context of Visual Leadership by Todd Churches, when discussing strategy execution, arrows would be used extensively to show how different strategic initiatives flow into achieving overall objectives, or how various departments connect and direct their efforts towards common goals. For Wilhelmine Brandt's visual thinking, collaborative sessions would likely involve participants using arrows to show how ideas build upon each other, how decisions lead to actions, and how feedback loops operate within a team. Temple Grandin, when mentally simulating systems, would be tracing the flow of objects, people, or animals through a space, which is essentially an internal visualization of arrows guiding movement and interaction. While shapes like squares and circles can represent individual ideas, when they are used to enclose other elements, they become containers. Containers are powerful tools for grouping information, establishing hierarchy and making complex relationships clear. The primary role of a container is to visually signal that all elements within its boundary are related, belong together, or share a common theme. This helps the viewer understand logical groupings at a glance. By enclosing specific information, a container draws attention to it, isolating it from surrounding elements and making it a focal point. Containers are excellent for illustrating nested relationships and different levels of information. A large container might represent a broad category, with smaller, nested containers representing subcategories or detailed components. This visual nesting creates an intuitive hierarchy. Containers clearly delineate what is in and what is out of a particular concept, project, or organizational unit. This helps to manage scope and prevent confusion. They assist the audience in mentally sorting and organizing information, effectively chunking large amounts of data into manageable units, thereby reducing cognitive load. While often rectangles or circles, containers can also take on softer forms like bubbles or clouds, depending on the formality or interconnectedness desired. Shaded areas or background colors can also act as subtle containers. Here are some applications in visual thinking. Mind maps. Central ideas are often in larger containers, with sub-ideas branching out and enclosed in smaller bubbles or boxes. Organizational charts. Departments or divisions are often represented by large containers with individual roles or teams as smaller containers nested inside. Process maps. Different stages of a process might be grouped into larger containers to represent distinct phases or responsibilities. Dashboards, widgets, or sections of a dashboard are typically framed by containers to separate different types of data visualization. Empathy maps. Distinct quadrants, e.g., says, thinks, does, feels, are defined by containers to segment user insights. Business models, e.g., business model canvas. The canvas itself is a large container, subdivided into smaller containers for key partners, activities, value propositions, etc. Containers are essential for visual information architecture. They allow us to break down overwhelming complexity into understandable, digestible segments. Imagine trying to explain a complex software architecture without clearly defined modules or layers. It would be a chaotic mess. Containers provide that necessary structure. When Churches discusses crystallizing strategy, the act of putting specific objectives or initiatives into defined visual boxes helps make them concrete and distinct. Brand's methods for visual collaboration would involve framing and grouping ideas on a shared surface, often using containers to organize brainstorming outputs or project phases. Grandin, in her mental simulations, likely contains certain areas of a design or process to analyze them in isolation before integrating them into the larger whole. Beyond abstract shapes, our visual vocabulary also includes simplified representations of people and objects. These are incredibly powerful because they are instantly recognizable and can convey a wealth of information without requiring extensive text. Icons are distilled visual representations designed to communicate meaning quickly and efficiently. They are the shorthand of visual language. The strength of icons lies in their ability to abstract complex realities into simple, recognizable forms. They strip away unnecessary detail to convey the core essence of an object, action, or concept. This simplicity is what makes them universally understood, often transcending language barriers. Here are some examples and applications. Common icons: light bulb, idea, innovation, problem solving; gear, cog, settings, process, mechanism; magnifying glass, search, analysis, detail; cloud, internet, data storage, abstract concept; checkmark, completion, approval, selection; heart, love, favorite, health. So how can we apply them in visual thinking? Dashboards and infographics. Icons provide quick visual summaries of data points or categories. Presentations, they replace lengthy text, making slides more engaging and memorable. User interfaces, intuitive navigation and function representation. Process diagrams, icons can represent specific activities, resources, or outcomes. Brainstorming. Quickly jotting down an icon can capture an idea faster than writing a word. Icons add visual interest, break up text, and expedite comprehension. They allow the viewer to grasp concepts almost instantaneously, freeing up cognitive resources for deeper understanding. Stick figures and simple people, icons humanizing the abstract. The humble stick figure is a marvel of simplicity and universal recognition. It's perhaps the easiest human representation to draw, yet it carries immense communicative power. Power of simplicity. The effectiveness of stick figures and other simple people icons comes from their extreme ease of creation and their immediate cross-cultural recognition as a person. They require no artistic skill, making them accessible to everyone in visual communication, representing individuals and roles. A stick figure can be a customer, an employee, a stakeholder, a team member, or any individual involved in a process or scenario. Varying simple features, e.g., a simple hat, a different pose, can denote different roles. Humanizing abstract concepts. Many business processes are ultimately about people interacting with systems or each other. Incorporating stick figures immediately humanizes these abstract flows. For example, a customer journey map becomes far more empathetic and tangible when you see a simple figure moving through the various stages. Illustrating interactions. Two stick figures facing each other can represent communication, one pointing to another can show direction or instruction. Simple people icons can quickly convey team composition, reporting lines, or collaborative groupings. Just as with people, simple drawings of relevant objects can provide immediate context and meaning. A simple dollar sign for finance, a graph for data, a building for real estate, a computer for technology, or a phone for communication. These visual cues are processed much faster than text and make the visual narrative richer and clearer. The cognitive benefit of using simple icons and stick figures is substantial. They leverage our visual recognition systems, allowing for rapid understanding and making information more engaging and less dense. They embody the core principle of visual thinking, conveying maximum information with minimum effort. This aligns perfectly with Willemian Brand's advice that you don't need Van Gogh's artistic talent to engage in visual thinking. Simple, clear visuals are far more effective than elaborate but confusing drawings. Todd Churches, in advocating for visual leadership, would undoubtedly encourage the use of such simplified visual elements to make complex leadership concepts accessible and memorable to all team members. Even Temple Grandin, whose mind processes highly detailed visuals, is essentially converting complex sensory information into her own internal icons of what is safe or unsafe, efficient or inefficient, focusing on the essential visual components. This basic visual vocabulary, lines, circles, squares, triangles, arrows, containers, simple icons, and stick figures, forms the foundational grammar of visual communication. They are the essential tools that allow us to translate abstract thoughts, complex data, and intricate processes into clear, compelling, and comprehensible visual messages. The goal in mastering this vocabulary is not to become an accomplished artist, but to cultivate visual fluency. It's about being able to quickly and effectively express any idea, solve any problem, and communicate any concept using the power of simple visuals. Just as we learn to combine words to form sentences and paragraphs, we learn to combine these visual elements to construct powerful visual narratives. This fluency empowers deeper understanding, fosters seamless collaboration, and ultimately enhances our ability to think, communicate, and innovate in an increasingly visual world. Start practicing these elements, and you'll quickly discover the profound impact of seeing and thinking visually. Welcome to this lesson where we delve into one of the most powerful and accessible visual thinking tools available, mind mapping. Mind mapping is far more than just a note-taking technique. It's a dynamic, non-linear method for organizing thoughts, brainstorming ideas, planning projects, and even enhancing memory and creativity. In essence, it mirrors the natural, associative way our brains work, making complex information more digestible and engaging. As Wilhelmine Brandt highlights in her book, Visual Thinking: Empowering People and Organizations Through Visual Collaboration, visual thinking is becoming increasingly important in today's business settings because a picture really can tell 1,000 words. Mind mapping is a prime example of this principle in action, allowing you to visualize thought processes, break down complex problems, and foster collaboration, aspects that align with the core message of Brandt's work. Similarly, Todd Churches in Visual Leadership champions leveraging the power of visual thinking for leadership and life, and mind mapping fits perfectly into this philosophy by helping to crystallize strategy and insights. Even for individuals like Temple Grandin, who articulate their thinking as primarily visual and pattern-based, the structured yet free-flowing nature of a mind map resonates with the brain's capacity to connect disparate pieces of information into a coherent whole, albeit on a different level of detail and abstraction than Grandin's specific visual world. At its heart, mind mapping is a universal tool that anyone can use, regardless of artistic talent, to unlock cognitive potential. Mind mapping was popularized by British author and educational consultant Tony Buzan in the late 1960s. His research into how the brain processes and stores information led him to develop a method that deviates from traditional linear note-taking, which he argued often stifles creativity and retention. Instead, mind maps leverage the brain's capacity for radial associative thinking. The fundamental principle behind mind mapping is that ideas don't exist in isolation. They are interconnected. By mapping these connections visually, we create a richer, more accessible, and more memorable representation of information than plain text could ever achieve. This visual structure allows for rapid comprehension, improved recall, and the organic generation of new ideas. While mind maps offer immense freedom, adhering to certain structural principles and rules enhances their effectiveness, ensuring clarity, maximizing creative output, and optimizing memory retention. These guidelines are not rigid dogma, but rather best practices developed over decades to align with how our brains naturally prefer to organize information. Every mind map begins with a central topic, theme, or problem. This central idea acts as the nucleus from which all other thoughts radiate. Placing it in the very center of your page allows your brain to access it equally from all directions, fostering a balanced and expansive thought process. Draw a clear, memorable image or write a keyword representing your main topic in the center of a blank page. Make it distinct, perhaps larger than other text, and use multiple colors. The use of an image is crucial here, as it's far more stimulating to the brain and easier to recall than a mere word. This central image is the heart of your map, the anchor for all subsequent information. Use thick, curvilinear main branches. From your central idea, draw thick, organic, curved lines radiating outwards. These lines are your main branches, representing the primary themes or categories directly related to your central topic. The use of curved lines is intentional. Our brains are more engaged by organic, flowing shapes than by monotonous, straight lines, which can feel rigid and artificial. For each main theme, draw a branch that curves naturally away from the center. Ensure these branches are thick near the center and taper as they extend outwards. Write a single concise keyword on each main branch. Limit these main branches to typically 5 to 9, as this is the approximate capacity of our short-term memory, making the map easier to grasp at a glance. Attach sub-branches with single keywords. From each main branch, draw thinner, curved lines to represent subtopics, supporting details or further associations. This creates a hierarchical structure that mirrors how complex information is broken down. The principle of using a single keyword per line is perhaps the most critical rule of mind mapping. For every new idea or piece of information that stems from a main branch, draw a new line and write only one keyword on it. Why just one? Because single words are powerful triggers. They force you to distill concepts to their essence, preventing the mind map from becoming cluttered with sentences or phrases. This allows each word to act as a unique stimulus, igniting a cascade of associations in your mind. This focused approach also makes the map easier to read, remember, and expand upon. Lines will progressively become thinner as you move further out from the center, indicating decreasing hierarchy. Connect associated ideas with lines or arrows. Real-world information is rarely isolated. Mind maps allow for showing complex relationships beyond simple hierarchy. If an idea on one branch is directly related to an idea on another main branch or sub-branch, draw a line or arrow connecting them. This visually represents the cross-connections in your thinking. You can even label these connecting lines with a keyword to explain the relationship, e.g., causes, leads to, contrasts with. Use landscape orientation. Principle: our peripheral vision is naturally wider than it is tall. Using a landscape orientation for your paper provides more horizontal space, allowing the branches to spread out more naturally and reducing the need for cramped writing. Always turn your paper sideways. This simple act maximizes the usable area and gives your mind map room to breathe and expand organically. Maintain clarity and legibility. A mind map is a tool for thought and communication. If it's messy or illegible, its effectiveness is severely diminished. Write clearly and legibly. Use block letters if it helps with readability. Ensure there's adequate space between branches and keywords. To prevent overcrowding, each keyword should sit on its branch, not floating above or below it. By following these structural guidelines, you're not just creating a drawing, you're building a powerful cognitive tool that leverages the brain's innate capacity for pattern recognition, association, and holistic understanding. Beyond structure, the effective use of visual elements, keywords, colors, and images elevates a mind map from a simple diagram to a vibrant, multisensory representation of your thoughts. These elements are not mere decorations. They are cognitive enhancers that amplify memory, stimulate creativity, and make your mind map truly effective. The power of keywords. We've touched on this already, but it bears repeating. The single keyword rule is foundational. Why keywords? Our brains recall information associatively. When you hear tree, you don't necessarily picture the word T-R-E-E. Instead, you might picture a specific tree, a forest, green leaves, or the concept of nature. A single keyword acts as a powerful trigger for a whole concept or memory. Sentences, on the other hand, require linear processing and can overload your short-term memory, hindering recall. How to use them effectively? Specificity. Choose the most evocative and concise word that captures the essence of the idea. Avoid generic terms where a more specific one will serve as a better trigger. Association. Think about what word will best spark the intended chain of thoughts when you review the map later. Placement. Write the keyword directly on top of its corresponding branch. The word should be the same length as the branch it sits on, or slightly shorter, to maintain visual flow. The impact of colors. Color is a phenomenal tool for organization, categorization, and memory enhancement. Our brains are highly attuned to color, and using it strategically in your mind maps significantly boosts their effectiveness. Encoding information. Categorization. Assign a distinct color to each main branch and all its subsequent sub-branches. This instantly creates visual chunks of information, making it easy to see which ideas belong to which primary category. For example, all ideas related to marketing could be blue, while finance ideas are green. Highlighting. Use bright or contrasting colors to emphasize particularly important points or action items. Mood emotion. Colors can convey a mood or an emotional state. Red might indicate urgency or danger, green might signify growth or approval, yellow for ideas or insights. Enhancing memory. Research in cognitive psychology consistently shows that color improves memory recall. When you associate a specific idea with a color, your brain creates an additional powerful cue for retrieval. Recalling the color can often trigger the associated information. Stimulating creativity. The vibrant, multicolored nature of a mind map is far more engaging and stimulating than monochromatic text. Different colors can trigger different thoughts or emotions, encouraging a more diverse and imaginative brainstorming process. Wilhelmine Brandt's work on visual collaboration directly supports the idea that visual stimuli, including color, can boost innovation and foster collaboration. Practical use of colors. Central image. Use at least 3 different colors in your central image to make it stand out and be more memorable. Main branches. Assign a unique color to each main branch. All sub-branches emanating from that main branch should continue to use that same color. This creates an immediate visual grouping. Connections. Use color to highlight connections between different branches. If 2 ideas from different main branches are related, draw the connecting line in a third, distinct color, or use a color that relates to one of the connected branches to show influence. The power of images and symbols. A picture really can tell 1,000 words, as the snippet from Wilhelmine Brandt's Visual Thinking succinctly puts it. This statement perfectly encapsulates the immense power of images in mind mapping. Our brains process images significantly faster than text and retain them more effectively. Why images are crucial. Instant comprehension. A simple icon of a light bulb immediately conveys idea or solution without needing to read the word. Memory retention. Visual information is processed and stored in a different, often more accessible part of the brain than linguistic information. This duality makes images incredibly memorable. Think about logos. You recognize them instantly, long before you read the company name. Triggering associations. An image, like a single keyword, can trigger a vast network of associations. A simple drawing of a clock might trigger thoughts of deadlines, time management, historical periods, or future planning. Universality. Many icons and simple images transcend language barriers, making mind maps effective for diverse teams. Fun and engagement. Drawing, even simple stick figures or crude icons, adds an element of playfulness and personal engagement to the process, making it less of a chore and more of an enjoyable exploration. As Brandt states, you don't need Van Gogh's artistic talent to harness the power of visual thinking. Simple, effective visuals are the key. How to use them effectively. Central image. Start with a powerful, multicolored central image that encapsulates your main topic. Branch images. Integrate small images or icons throughout your mind map, directly on or next to your keywords. These can be simple stick figures, arrows, stars, question marks, or quick sketches of objects. Think visually. Instead of just writing meeting, draw a small icon of 2 people talking. Instead of money, draw a dollar sign or a coin. Personalization. Don't worry about artistic perfection. The best images are the ones that are meaningful to you and that you can quickly draw and recall. The crude stick figure you draw will likely be more memorable to you than a professionally rendered image, precisely because you created it. By consciously integrating keywords, colors, and images into your mind maps, you're engaging more parts of your brain, the logical side with keywords and structure, and the creative, associative side with colors and images. This holistic engagement is what makes mind mapping such an extraordinarily effective tool for thinking, learning, and communicating. Todd Churches emphasizes simplifying complexity, and mind mapping through these visual elements excels at this, helping leaders crystallize their strategy and insights. Here is a practical exercise, creating a mind map for a project or idea. Now it's time to put these principles into practice. The best way to understand the power of mind mapping is to create one yourself. For this exercise, we will create a mind map for a project or a significant idea you're currently working on, or even a personal goal. Materials you'll need: a large piece of blank paper, ideally A3 or larger, but A4 will work if that's all you have. A variety of colored pens, markers, or pencils, at least 4 or 5 different colors. Your chosen topic, e.g., planning my next vacation, developing a new product feature, organizing a team event, studying for an exam, or my career goals for the next year. Here is the step-by-step guide. Prepare your workspace, find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed for 20-30 minutes. Place your large piece of paper in landscape, horizontal orientation in front of you. This provides ample space for your ideas to spread out. Have all your colored pens, markers readily available. Start with your central idea. In the very center of your blank page, draw a clear, distinctive image that represents your chosen topic. For example, planning my next vacation. A simple drawing of a suitcase, an airplane, or a beach. Developing a new product feature. A small gear, a light bulb, or a simplified product icon. Organizing a team event. Stick figures, a calendar, or a party hat. Use at least 3 different colors in this central image to make it visually appealing and memorable. If drawing an image feels daunting, you can write the central keyword in bold, large, multicolored letters, perhaps with a border around it. However, challenge yourself to try a simple sketch. Remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. Develop your main branches. Now, identify the major themes or categories directly related to your central idea. These are your basic ordering ideas, BOIs. Aim for 5 to 9 main branches. For planning my next vacation, your main branches might be destination, budget, activities, accommodation, travel, packing, dates. For developing a new product feature, user needs, technical requirements, design, marketing, timeline, resources, testing. From your central image, draw a thick curved line for each main branch, radiating outwards like the spokes of a wheel. On each main branch, write a single keyword representing that category. Assign a different, distinct color to each main branch. All subsequent ideas connected to that branch will use this same color. You can also add a small, relevant image on or near each main branch's keyword to enhance visual recall, e.g., a coin for budget, a bed for accommodation, a clock for timeline. Add sub-branches and details. From each of your main branches, draw thinner, curved lines for sub-branches. These represent supporting details, specific items, or further breakdowns of your main categories. Again, remember the single keyword per line rule. Keep your words concise and impactful. Continue to use the same color for all sub-branches connected to their respective main branch. Where appropriate, add small, simple images or icons next to your sub-keywords. For example, under activities, you might have swimming with a wave icon, hiking with a small mountain, or museums with a tiny building icon. You can continue to branch out as many levels as needed, with lines becoming progressively thinner as you move further from the center. Establish connections, ongoing as you map. As you add ideas, you might notice connections between different branches or sub-branches. Use lines or arrows to connect these related ideas, even if they're on different main branches. You can label these connecting lines with a brief keyword to explain the relationship, e.g., an arrow from budget to activities labeled limits. Use a different color for these connection lines if it helps distinguish them from hierarchical branches. Review and refine. Once you feel you've captured most of your initial thoughts, take a step back and review your mind map. Is anything missing? Can you add more details, keywords, or images? Are the colors effectively segmenting your information? Is it easy to read and understand at a glance? Is there any clutter that could be simplified? Don't be afraid to add more, or even to start a new map if this one feels too cramped. The beauty of mind mapping is its iterative nature. This hands-on exercise is crucial because it allows you to internalize the principles. You move from theoretical understanding to practical application, making the rules and guidelines more intuitive. Experience the flow. You'll feel how ideas naturally expand and connect in a nonlinear fashion, mirroring your thought process. Boost memory and recall. By personally engaging in the creation process, using your own associations, keywords, colors, and images, you create a memory tool that is uniquely yours and highly effective for recall. Overcome creative blocks. The free-form nature encourages brainstorming without judgment, often leading to unexpected insights and solutions. Develop your own style. You'll begin to understand what works best for your personal visual thinking style, reinforcing Wilhelmine Brand's point about developing your own signature and style. Mind mapping is a deceptively simple yet profoundly powerful visual thinking tool. By harnessing its core principles, starting with a central idea, radiating out with hierarchical branches, leveraging single keywords, and making strategic use of colors and images, you unlock a more natural, efficient, and enjoyable way to think, learn, and communicate. It moves beyond the limitations of linear thought, tapping into your brain's incredible capacity for association and visual processing. Whether you're planning a complex project, brainstorming innovative solutions, organizing notes for a presentation, or simply trying to make sense of a chaotic stream of ideas, mind mapping provides the clarity and structure needed to transform information into actionable insight. As Todd Churches would attest through his work on visual leadership, developing such visual communication skills is key to becoming a more effective communicator, innovator, and leader, empowering you to envision and achieve a more successful future. Embrace the process, let your thoughts flow, and watch as your ideas come to life on the page, beautifully organized and instantly understood. Welcome to this lesson where we explore the dynamic and highly effective world of sketchnoting basics. In an era inundated with information, the ability to quickly and effectively capture, process, and recall insights from talks, meetings, and presentations is more critical than ever. Traditional linear note-taking often falls short, struggling to keep pace with the flow of ideas and failing to engage our brains in a truly meaningful way. This is where sketchnoting shines. Sketchnoting is a method of visual note-taking that combines handwriting, drawings, hand-drawn typography, shapes, and visual elements like arrows, lines, and boxes. It's a powerful tool for capturing information visually during talks or meetings, transforming passive listening into active engagement. As Wilhelmine Brand emphasizes in Visual Thinking, Empowering People and Organizations Through Visual Collaboration, visual communication is increasingly vital in business, helping to boost enterprise agility, break down silos, and increase employee and customer engagement. Sketchnoting is a personal embodiment of this principle, allowing individuals to process and organize information in a way that is inherently more engaging and memorable. Similarly, Todd Churches in Visual Leadership, Leveraging the Power of Visual Thinking in Leadership and in Life, champions visual thinking for its ability to capture attention, aid comprehension, and enable your team members to retain the information you need them to use. Sketchnoting directly supports these goals on an individual level, while Temple Grandin's visual thinking explores the unique cognitive processes of people who primarily think in pictures, patterns, and abstractions. It underscores the brain's fundamental capacity for visual information processing, a capacity that sketchnoting intentionally leverages for everyone. This module will guide you through the foundational principles of sketchnoting, demonstrating how you can capture information visually during talks or meetings, effectively combine text, drawings, and symbols, and equip you with tips for rapid visual note-taking. You don't need to be an artist. As Brand states, you don't need Van Gogh's artistic talent to harness the power of visual thinking. Sketchnoting is about ideas and connections, not artistic perfection. Sketchnoting basics. Capturing information. Visually at its core, sketchnoting is about active listening and synthesizing information into a visually rich format. It's not about transcribing every word, but about capturing the essence of a message, the key ideas, connections, and supporting details in a way that resonates with your brain. What is sketchnoting? Imagine traditional note-taking as a straight, narrow road. You drive from point A to point B, one word after another. Sketchnoting, on the other hand, is like a sprawling landscape. You have main roads, key concepts, side paths, supporting details, landmarks, icons and drawings, and different terrains, varied typography and containers that make the journey engaging and memorable. Sketch notes are personal and organic. They don't follow a rigid structure like a formal diagram. Instead, they evolve as you listen and think, allowing your brain to make connections and organize information spatially. This non-linear approach is far more aligned with how our brains naturally process information, associatively and holistically, rather than sequentially. The benefits of sketchnoting are profound. Enhanced engagement. When you sketchnote, you are actively processing information, not passively recording it. This deep engagement improves focus and concentration during talks or meetings. Improved comprehension. The act of synthesizing information into a visual format forces you to understand the content at a deeper level. You can't just copy, you must interpret and reframe. Superior memory retention. Our brains are hardwired for visual recall. Studies show that information presented visually is remembered far more effectively than information presented only as text. By combining words with images, you create multiple pathways for memory retrieval. This aligns with Church's point about visuals aiding comprehension and retention. Increased creativity. The visual nature of sketchnoting encourages creative thinking and problem solving. It allows for new connections to emerge and facilitates, jumpstarts co-creation, and boosts innovation, as described by Brand. Personalized learning. Each sketchnote is unique to the individual who created it, reflecting their understanding and associations. This personalization makes the notes incredibly effective for later review. The art of capturing information visually in real time requires a shift in mindset and a few practical strategies. The goal is not to draw masterpieces, but to convey meaning quickly and efficiently. Active listening over passive recording. Focus on concepts, not words. The biggest mistake beginners make is trying to write down everything. Instead, listen for the main ideas, the aha moments, and the core arguments. What are the 3 to 5 key takeaways the speaker wants you to remember? Identify keywords. As you listen, extract keywords that encapsulate a larger idea. These are the anchors for your visual notes. Listen for structure. Pay attention to how the speaker organizes their points. Do they use numbered lists, comparisons, cause and effect, problems and solutions, or chronological order? These structures can be visually represented. Choose your layout on the fly. Sketch notes don't have a rigid template. Your layout will emerge as you go, adapting to the content. However, being aware of common layouts can give you a starting point. Linear. a more structured approach, flowing from left to right or top to bottom, but still incorporating visuals and varied text. Good for highly structured talks. Radial, similar to a mind map with a central idea and branches. Ideal for single, well-defined topics. Skyscraper, vertical, with main ideas stacked like floors of a building and details branching off horizontally. Popcorn or path. Ideas are scattered across the page and connected by lines, arrows, or frames as relationships become clear. This is often the most organic and intuitive for many. Don't pre-plan extensively. Let the content guide the layout. Start in the center or top left and allow your ideas to flow outwards. Prioritize and filter. Since you can't capture everything, you must become a rapid filter. Ask yourself, is this essential for understanding the main point? Does this add significant value? If not, let it go. Focus on the why and how, not just the what. Speakers often provide context, examples, and implications that are more valuable to capture visually than raw data. Embrace imperfection and speed. This is perhaps the most crucial mindset shift. Your sketch notes are for you. They are not works of art to be judged. The goal is rapid capture and comprehension, not gallery-ready illustrations. Don't stop the flow to fix a drawing. A quick, simple sketch is always better than a perfect drawing that caused you to miss the next 3 important points. Develop a personal visual vocabulary of simple icons you can draw quickly, e.g., a light bulb for an idea, a clock for time, a person for people, an arrow for flow. By actively listening, flexibly structuring your notes, and prioritizing speed over perfection, you'll find yourself able to capture the essence of any talk or meeting in a highly effective visual format. This process of active engagement and synthesis is precisely what brand means by visualizing thought processes can help break down complex problems. Combining text, drawings, and symbols. The magic of sketchnoting lies in the synergistic combination of various elements. It's the interplay of these different languages that creates a rich, multi-dimensional record of information. No single element works as effectively in isolation as it does when integrated with others. The role of text, handwriting, and typography. While sketchnoting emphasizes visuals, text remains a fundamental component. It provides clarity, precision, and forms the backbone of your notes. Keywords and short phrases. As discussed in mind mapping, words are triggers. In sketchnoting, use keywords and very short phrases to convey specific information that images might not fully articulate. Avoid full sentences or paragraphs. Varying typography. Just like different voices emphasize different words, varied typography highlights key information. Size. Make important headlines or main ideas larger. Supporting details can be smaller. Weight, boldness. Use thicker lines for important words. Case, uppercase or lowercase. All caps can indicate emphasis or a title. Style. Experiment with different handwriting styles, e.g., block letters, script, bubble letters for different types of information. A title might be in a decorative font, while details are in a standard, legible script. Containers and frames. Encasing text within boxes, circles, clouds, or banners can group related ideas, emphasize a point, or make it visually distinct. This helps to organize the information spatially on the page, creating a visual hierarchy. Connectors, arrows, lines, and dashes guide the eye and show relationships between different pieces of text or visuals. The power of drawings, simple icons, and sketches. This is where many people hesitate, fearing a lack of artistic talent. Let go of that fear immediately. Sketchnoting drawings are about conceptual representation, not artistic skill. Think of them as visual shorthand. Start with basic shapes. Most complex objects can be broken down into circles, squares, triangles, lines, and dots. For example, a house is a square with a triangle roof. A person is a stick figure. Develop a visual vocabulary. Over time, you'll naturally develop a library of simple icons you can draw quickly for common concepts, idea or innovation, light bulb, cogwheel, people or team, stick figures, head silhouettes, time or deadline, clock, calendar, money or budget, dollar sign, coin stack, process or flow, arrows, zigzag lines, problem or challenge, question mark, jagged line, storm cloud, solution or success, checkmark, star, trophy, location, map pin, house icon, communication, speech bubble, megaphone. Practice drawing rapidly. The key is speed. Don't labor over details. A few quick lines can convey a lot of meaning. Practice drawing these basic icons until they become second nature. You can even create a personal visual dictionary page where you list common words and their associated quick sketches. This aligns perfectly with brand statement about not needing Van Gogh's artistic talent and developing your own signature and style. Leveraging symbols and connectors. The visual glue. Symbols and connectors are the unsung heroes of sketchnoting. They provide structure, show relationships, and add visual interest, making your notes easier to navigate and understand. Arrows. The most versatile connector. Use them to show flow or process, from one step to the next. Cause and effect, what leads to what. Hierarchy, pointing from a main idea to a sub-idea. Direction, guiding the reader's eye. Dividers and separators, lines, straight, wavy, dotted, boxes, and frames can visually separate different sections or ideas on your page. This helps prevent a cluttered look and makes the information digestible. Bullet points and checklists. While visual, traditional bullet points, dots, squares, stars are still effective, checkboxes are great for action items. Emphasis, markers, stars, asterisks for important points, underlines to highlight specific words, shading or fill, lightly shade behind a key concept or drawing to make it pop. Speech bubbles or thought clouds, excellent for capturing quotes, direct dialogue, or internal thoughts. Question marks or exclamation marks quickly indicate a question posed or a surprising insight. By consciously varying your text, intentionally incorporating simple drawings, and strategically using symbols and connectors, you build a powerful visual language. This multimodal approach engages more parts of your brain, leading to better comprehension, stronger memory recall, and a more enjoyable note-taking experience. It's about creating a personal story of the information rather than just a linear list of facts. Here are some tips for rapid visual note-taking. Sketchnoting in real time can feel daunting at first, especially when the speaker is moving quickly. However, with practice and a few strategic tips, you can become adept at rapid visual note-taking, capturing the essence without feeling overwhelmed. Preparation is key, but don't overdo it. Tools that you will need. Paper. Use blank unlined paper. This provides maximum freedom for your visuals. A notebook or sketchbook with thicker paper is ideal to prevent bleed-through if you use markers. Pens. Choose a few pens that you enjoy writing with and that have different line weights, e.g., a fine liner for text, a thicker marker for titles. A gray marker can be great for light shading without adding too much color. Keep colors simple. 2 to 4 key colors are usually sufficient. Don't bring your entire art supply store. Remind yourself that perfection is not the goal. Speed and capturing key concepts are paramount. If you know the general topic, you can sometimes pre-draw the central topic or a few anticipated main branches very lightly in pencil. This gives you a head start. Develop your personal visual library. As mentioned, practice drawing simple icons repeatedly until they become muscle memory. The faster you can draw a light bulb or a stick figure, the less time you'll spend thinking about the drawing and more time listening to the content. Create a dedicated page in your notebook where you list common words and your quick sketches for them. Regularly review and add to this visual dictionary. Harness the power of abbreviations and shorthand. While sketchnoting is visual, text shortcuts are still valuable for speed. Use common abbreviations, e.g., BC for because, and for and, W for with. Create your own consistent shorthand for frequently used terms related to your industry or the specific event. Symbols can also be shorthand. Plus for addition or positive, minus for subtraction or negative, X for multiplication, problem, equals for equals or result. Embrace white space and chunking, don't fear. White space, leaving empty space around your ideas, makes the map less cluttered and easier to read. It also provides room for adding more detail later if needed. Chunking information. Our brains process information best in small, digestible chunks. Visually group related ideas using containers, boxes, circles, or by simply leaving space between unrelated concepts. This aids comprehension and recall, reinforcing how Zherkov emphasizes simplifying complexity to crystallize strategy and insights. Listen for signposts from the speaker. Speakers often give verbal cues that indicate important points or transitions. Listen for phrases like, the three main points are, firstly, secondly, thirdly. To summarize, the key takeaway is what this means for you. In contrast, these cues are your signal to enlarge text, draw an icon, or create a new branch or section. Don't stop the flow for perfect drawings. This is crucial for speed. If you get stuck trying to draw something, just write the word. You can always add a sketch later or simply underline the word to indicate you intended a visual. Prioritize capturing the idea over the aesthetic. A messy sketch note that accurately captures the information is infinitely more useful than a beautiful one that misses half the content. Vary line weight for emphasis. Use a slightly thicker pen for main ideas or headlines to make them stand out. Use a thinner pen for supporting details or less critical information. This simple technique immediately creates a visual hierarchy. Use color strategically, not extensively. While having multiple colors is great, don't feel compelled to use them constantly during rapid note-taking. Reserve one or two key colors for highlighting essential information or for differentiating major sections. For example, black for all text and drawings, and a red or blue pen to highlight actionable items or particularly important insights. You can always add more color during a review phase after the talk. Practice, practice, practice. Like any skill, sketchnoting improves with consistent practice. Start by sketchnoting short online videos, podcasts, or casual conversations. Don't wait for a high-stakes meeting. Review your sketch notes regularly. This reinforces the information and helps you identify what visual elements work best for your personal recall. The more you review, the more your visual vocabulary will expand and become automatic. Experiment with different tools and techniques to find what feels most comfortable and efficient for you. By integrating these tips, you'll find that rapid visual note-taking becomes less about artistic skill and more about focused listening, quick synthesis, and effective visual shorthand. You'll transform from a passive receiver of information into an active, engaged learner, capable of capturing the essence of any talk or meeting in a way that truly sticks. This active processing and personalization of information is a powerful asset in any professional or personal context, aligning with the broader goals of visual thinking to enhance comprehension, innovation, and leadership. Welcome to this module on visual note-taking for meetings and presentations. It can be tough to keep up in our fast-paced world, With so much information coming at us, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But what if there was a way to make sense of it all? This guide on visual note-taking is all about shifting from passive listening to active engagement, transforming how you capture and communicate information. We'll explore techniques for live visual recording, and I'll show you how to master the art of summarizing visually, so your messages really stick. Before we dive into the how-to, it's probably a good idea to understand the why. You might have heard the saying, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." That's a good starting point, but the impact of visual thinking goes much deeper. Take the books Visual Thinking by Wilhelmine Brandt, Temple Grandin's Visual Thinking, and Todd Church's Visual Leadership. They all suggest that visual communication isn't just a nice-to-have skill, it's a foundational one. Wilhelmine Brandt, for instance, argues that visual thinking and drawing are increasingly important in business. It appears that using visuals helps companies become more agile, break down internal barriers, and better engage employees and customers. When you visualize a complex problem, it can make it easier to understand, paving the way for collaboration and new ideas. Brand also challenges the idea that you need to be an artist to do this. Anyone, she insists, can develop a personal style and integrate visual communication into their work. Temple Grandin offers a unique perspective on this. She writes about the hidden gifts of people who think in pictures, patterns, and abstractions. Her work seems to suggest that, for many, visual thinking is a primary way of processing information, not just a backup. This is a crucial point, I think, because it highlights how visual note-taking can be a really inclusive practice. When we use visuals, we're tapping into a more intuitive and often more memorable way of understanding ideas. Similarly, Todd Churches reinforces the power of visual thinking in leadership. In his book, he explains how effective leaders use storytelling to influence and inspire. Churches says that by using visual language and imagery, anyone can become a visual leader. A big challenge for leaders is simplifying complexity, and visual thinking is likely a great tool for making strategy and insights crystal clear. He even touches on neuroscience, referencing the SCARF model: status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, fairness, to show how visuals might positively affect how our brains respond to information, potentially leading to better engagement. So these works seem to collectively illustrate that visual thinking isn't just a creative hobby. It's a fundamental cognitive process. When applied intentionally, it can significantly improve communication, problem-solving, and collaboration by clarifying complex ideas and fostering a deeper level of engagement than purely verbal methods. Now, let's translate this into some practical strategies for live visual recording. This is the process of capturing information in real time, with a mix of drawings, icons, keywords, and connectors. It's a dynamic way to turn spoken words into a visual tapestry of ideas. Listening and synthesizing is probably the most critical part of live visual recording. Active listening combined with rapid synthesis. Your job isn't to write down every word. It's to listen for the big ideas, connections, and overarching themes. This involves active listening. Pay close attention to the speaker's tone, emphasis, and recurring phrases. What are the main points? And what's the call to action? Filtering information. You have to decide what's important. Don't try to capture everything. Instead, focus on the core message and the essential takeaways. Identifying structure. Try to recognize the flow of the discussion. Are there different sections or are distinct solutions being proposed? Choosing your tools, analog or digital. What you use depends on the situation and what you're comfortable with. Analog tools are the traditional setup is using large paper or whiteboards and markers. This gives you a big canvas to work with and a tangible result. For smaller settings, a simple notebook and a set of pens with various colors and thicknesses work just fine. A few of the advantages are that they are less distracting and they create a physical artifact. You could use also a tablet with a stylus, like an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil, and apps such as Procreate or GoodNotes. These offer flexibility, a virtually infinite canvas, and easy sharing. Graphic tablets connected to a computer, like Wacom, are also great for projecting notes live for an audience. Digital tools are easy to edit, organize, and share. You don't need to be a professional artist here. Simple, recognizable icons are what you're after. All complex drawings are just combinations of simple shapes like circles, squares, and lines. Build a small set of simple icons for concepts you'll hear often. A light bulb for idea, a gear for process, people for team, and a question mark for challenge. Use arrows, lines, and containers to show how ideas are linked. The more you draw these simple elements, the faster and more naturally they'll come to you during a live session. I like to practice by listening to a podcast or TED Talk and trying to capture the main ideas in real time. How you arrange your notes on the page affects how well people can read them. Just follow the conversation from top to bottom, left to right. This works well for a presentation with a clear progression. Start with the main topic in the middle and branch out with related ideas. This is great for brainstorming. Use boxes or bubbles to group related information. Use size and color to make the most important points stand out. Bigger, bolder elements naturally catch the eye. The real purpose of visual note-taking isn't just to record information, it's to make it more digestible. An effective visual summary ensures the most critical information is immediately obvious. Before you can summarize, you have to find the so what. For every piece of information, ask yourself, what's the most important takeaway? Eliminate any repetitive or unnecessary details and focus on the actionable insights. Once you have the key points, use these techniques to condense them. Mind maps, these are great for summarizing. The central topic is in the middle and key points branch out. Flowcharts, use these for processes or a sequence of events. They break down workflows into easy-to-follow visual steps. Comparison charts. If you need to compare different options, a simple chart can present the summary clearly. Bullet points with icons. Add a small icon next to a text bullet point. It adds a visual cue and makes it more memorable. Make sure the most important summarized points really pop. Use bigger text and visuals. Place crucial information in a distinct frame or box. And use a contrasting color to highlight essential parts. You can also put your key takeaways in a prominent place on the page, like the top or center. Your initial notes will likely be a bit messy, and that's okay. A quick review and refinement process after the meeting can make a huge difference. Fill in any gaps you missed, clarify anything that looks unclear, and if you plan to share your notes, maybe tidy them up a bit. Taking the time to implement these techniques pays off in a big way, both for you and your team. The physical or digital act of drawing and connecting ideas helps create stronger mental connections, making information more memorable. Studies show that combining text with images significantly improves recall. Visuals make complex information easier to understand. They can help you grasp relationships and big-picture concepts more quickly. Visual notes are simply more interesting than a wall of text. They capture attention and invite active participation. It helps teams align. When you share visual notes after a meeting, everyone can literally see what was discussed. This leads to better alignment and fewer misunderstandings. As Churches suggests, visual communication helps leaders make strategy and insights accessible to everyone, which fosters collective action. You'll be more creative. The visual process encourages nonlinear thinking, which can spark new ideas and connections you might not find in purely text-based notes. It's accessible for different learning styles. As Temple Grandin's work highlights, people think in different ways. Visual note-taking caters to visual learners, but also helps kinesthetic learners by the act of drawing and auditory learners by reinforcing what they hear. Ultimately, visual note-taking isn't just about doodling. It's a strategic skill that can boost communication, comprehension, and collaboration. By practicing these techniques, you can transform your meetings from forgettable discussions into memorable, actionable insights. And remember, you don't have to be an artist to start. The goal isn't to create a masterpiece, but to capture ideas. Just start with some simple shapes and keep practicing. The journey of visual thinking is one of continuous improvement, promising some pretty great benefits in your personal and professional life. Once you've identified the key points, use visual synthesis techniques to condense them. As mentioned before, mind maps are excellent for summarizing. The central topic is in the middle and key points branch out, with subpoints further branching off. This naturally creates a hierarchical summary. For processes, decision trees, or sequences of events, flowcharts and diagrams are highly effective. They break down complex workflows into easy-to-follow visual steps. While full infographics are elaborate, you can apply infographic principles to your notes. This includes using icons, short text, and visual comparisons to convey data or relationships. If the key points involve a historical progression or a project schedule, a visual timeline can effectively summarize events in chronological order. For comparing different options, pros, cons, or features, a simple visual chart or matrix can present the summary clearly. Use icons or simple drawings within the cells. Instead of just text bullet points, combine them with small, relevant icons. This adds a visual cue to each point, enhancing memorability. Sometimes, a single overarching drawing can summarize the entire meeting or presentation. This requires a high level of synthesis and creativity, but can be incredibly impactful. For instance, if the meeting was about a product launch, a drawing of the product with key features and benefits radiating from it could serve as a powerful summary. Use visual techniques to ensure the most important summarized points stand out. Make the text and visuals of key takeaways larger and bolder than supporting details. Place crucial summaries within distinct frames, boxes, or speech bubbles to visually separate them from other information. Use a contrasting color for the background or outline of key summary sections. Use a highlighter marker or digital highlighting tool to draw attention to essential phrases or icons. Position the most critical summaries in prominent locations on your page, such as the top or center, or in a dedicated Key Takeaways section. Effective visual summaries often tell a story, guiding the viewer through the information. Use lines, arrows, and visual pathways to show how different summarized points relate to each other and contribute to the overall narrative. Even in a summary, try to create a sense of progression. What was the problem? What was discussed? What are the next steps? Visually depict the state before and after a proposed solution or change. The initial live recording is often raw. A quick review and refinement process can significantly enhance its clarity and impact as a summary. Fill in any gaps you might have missed during the live recording. Rework any drawings or text that might be unclear. While not necessary for personal notes, for shared summaries, you might add a bit more polish, aligning elements, and tidying up drawings. If you took analog notes, consider digitizing them, e.g., taking a photo for easier sharing and archival. Some apps can even convert handwritten notes to text or improve their appearance. Implementing these visual note-taking and summarization techniques yields a multitude of benefits, both for the individual and for the group. enhanced memory and recall. The act of drawing and connecting ideas physically or digitally creates stronger neural pathways, making information more memorable. Studies show that combining text with images significantly improves recall. Improved comprehension. Visuals simplify complex information, making it easier to understand relationships and overarching concepts. It moves beyond linear processing to a more holistic understanding. Increased engagement. Visual notes are inherently more engaging than traditional linear notes. They capture attention and invite active participation, even from those who are not actively drawing. Fostering collaboration and alignment. When visual notes are shared live or after a meeting, they create a shared understanding among participants. Everyone can literally see what was discussed, leading to better alignment and fewer misunderstandings. Todd Church's work on visual leadership strongly supports this, emphasizing how visual communication helps leaders crystallize strategy and insights, making them accessible to teams and fostering collective action, stimulating creativity and innovation. The visual process encourages non-linear thinking, which can spark new ideas and connections that might not emerge from purely textual notes. As Wilhelmine Brand notes, visualizing thought processes jumpstarts co-creation and boosts innovation. Quick scannability. Visual summaries are highly scannable, allowing for rapid review of key information. Instead of rereading pages of text, you can quickly grasp the essence of a meeting in minutes. Accessibility for diverse learning styles. As Temple Grandin's work highlights, people think in different ways. Pictures, patterns, abstractions. Visual note-taking caters to visual learners, but also aids kinesthetic learners through the act of drawing, and even auditory learners by reinforcing what they hear. This inclusivity broadens the reach and impact of your notes. Problem solving. Visualizing a problem can help break it down into smaller, more manageable parts, making solutions more apparent. This aligns with Brand's assertion that visualizing thought processes can help break down complex problems. In conclusion, visual note-taking for meetings and presentations is far more than just doodling. It is a strategic skill that enhances communication, comprehension, and collaboration. By mastering techniques for live visual recording and effectively summarizing key points visually, you empower yourself and your teams to navigate the complexities of information with clarity and creativity. Embrace the power of the visual and transform your meetings from forgettable discussions into memorable, actionable insights. Remember, you don't need to be an artist to start. Begin with simple shapes, practice regularly, and focus on capturing ideas, not creating masterpieces. The journey of visual thinking is one of continuous improvement and discovery, promising profound benefits in your personal and professional life.